is gonna get wicked.
Welcome back to the Hektic Podcast. Some of you may remember our old episodes and how trash they were.
They were a little rough.
They were not just a little rough. They were very rough. We were using, what were those cameras called?
Some Logitech camera.
Yeah, some Logitech.
It was supposed to be like
podcaster camera.
Switch.
It worked semi-well.
I mean,
If it was just two of us, it was really good.
yeah, the software itself worked decently well, but the quality of the image was horrible.
Oh, it was so bad. No, it wasn't good.
Gotta hold the mic up here.
Yeah, remember to hold this. I'm just holding it like this, dude. Like a drink. Act like you got a drink in your hand. Nice.
This is a real mic.
Yeah. So
nothing else.
So our old podcast had no rhyme or reason. It was literally us just coming up with things and bullshitting. I think we did have a segment where we would go through like
Today in history.
Yeah, today in history.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I actually did kind of like those. And maybe we'll still do some of those throughout the things. And maybe we do something that's more related to fighting. Who knows?
Yeah.
That brings me into why we're starting the podcast up again. We took some time and really tried to identify a good direction to take the podcast, something that would actually warrant some views, because previous one was good for shorts. I think shorts were doing really well because you had those little today in history or these little funny moments.
Or the one time that I said I'd never let my dog sleep in my bed with me.
Yeah, that one got a really good
Just so everyone
reaction.
knows, I've had the dog for like almost 2 years. Dog doesn't get in the bed or on the couch.
Thank heavens.
Stuck to it.
Yep.
She's a really good dog. We love her. She loves us, but she ain't getting in my damn bed.
Yeah, dude. That's the best. That was like the most viewed video we got.
People tore me up.
Yeah. And we did a lot of shorts on that one, and I think they did okay. Hopefully the shorts here do well, but really the goal is for our long form videos to do way better and get some views and hopefully start growing our YouTube channel with long form video views rather than just short form video views. Right now, I think the Hektic YouTube channel has about 31,000 subs, which is awesome. The problem is you have two different kinds of YouTube users, I guess three. You have content creators, viewers of shorts, and then viewers of long form video. Right now, most of our subscribers are short form video viewers.
That's the majority of our content.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
And it probably still will be for the first little bit.
And it's the majority of our good content because we got really good at splicing up other long form videos.
Mm-hmm. So the direction that we decided to take the Hektic Podcast and why we're starting up again, this is going to be episode 1, just to kind of help people understand where we're going, what we're doing. We want to explore the mind of the fighter. I think that that's kind of a funny way of putting it, but ultimately we want to interview, to start out, the fighting community here in Utah.
Which is growing, and it's actually, I'd say it's gaining a little attention.
Yeah, well, and it's been pretty established for a long time, at least amongst enthusiasts. And
that's probably a better point.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it's just getting more attention lately than it had before.
100%. And I think a lot of big fighters, especially that like come out of the UFC and other big fighting championship cards, like they all know that there's a pretty decent fighting group here in Utah. I don't think a lot of enthusiasts outside of the state really understand how popular it is here in Utah.
Yeah.
So I figured a really fun thing to do would be to interview different fighters in mixed martial arts, coaches, and then obviously enthusiasts, people that aren't actually fighting but just go in and train. Like myself, I've been doing it now for 10 years, super on and off, not consistent, but 10 years in jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. And so I have a big love for the sport, for MMA in general. And so does James. James was a big wrestler in high school, right?
Yeah. I'm more on and off training than Brooke is.
Yeah.
We'll get back to it now that baby's here and life's moving along.
But you're an enthusiast, right? You love watching the fights. Every Saturday he's on it like, what is it? Rice on hot? Hot on rice?
White on rice.
White on rice. There you go.
Stink on a skunk, or I think it's
Something.
actually stink on shit or something like that. But
Ew.
yeah,
Sick.
but I like it.
And then obviously the big picture here with the podcast is to go and start interviewing big fighters, big names that you may have heard of. Hopefully we have some connections there that we can plug and try to get them on the cast. Yeah.
I think we'll need some of our local Utah talent to help us out and get on here first.
Yeah.
Show that we're
100%.
capable.
And I think to start to a lot of the guests that'll be on here, at least I'm hoping, I haven't really even brought it up to them yet, are fighters and trainers and enthusiasts out of Wasatch Combat Sports, which is right down there in Orem, Utah, 800 North.
Yeah, maybe we bring the setup to them.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, dude, honestly, do a setup in the gym. That would be sick.
During downtime, between classes, things like that.
We almost need to get a setup that works really well for travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for setting up on the fly. If you guys don't know, podcasting is really a pain in the ass when it comes to the equipment and the production and like trying to get a finished product by the end of it. It's such a headache, and it makes sense why a lot of podcasters don't end up going into video.
Yeah.
Right.
Video is what makes it really hard. Anyone can sit with a couple of microphones and just talk.
Yeah. And
it's not like you really want to see us, but it does give us more content, more media to show.
Exactly.
It is more entertaining to watch people.
100%. Yeah. I think it gives you a whole nother user base, and it's better to be able to match a face to the voice, right? Like
100%.
You hear all these voices in podcasts that you listen to, and there's a good chance you've never seen the person that's actually speaking.
Yeah. I personally listen to a little bit of like talk radio.
Yeah.
Not as much now.
I used to. Yeah, I used to a ton.
But when I used to commute, man, I'd listen to a lot of talk radio. And to go and look at what the people look like that are actually talking on the radio,
it's like surprising,
it'll
right?
catch you off guard.
Yeah, 100%.
You think that this guy that's talking every morning about sports or the weather or news, whatever it is,
yep.
You have this image in your head of them. You usually have like a pretty good looking, attractive image.
Yeah.
And then you look them up and you realize why there's a phrase that's, you got a face for radio.
Yeah, you've got a face for radio.
So
yeah, you always expect something different, at least for the most part.
Completely different. Some local Utah radio hosts here.
Yeah.
That I won't name. But definitely caught me off guard.
I love it. Bringing all of that up, Hektic is, and us, we're producing a podcast broadcasting application that should take care of a lot of the headache and heartache that goes into actually putting together a podcast production. And right now we're doing some market research on it.
Yeah, and that's been a big part of our downtime as well. A lot of our focus and energy has gone into that because we realized how painful setting all of this up can be, especially for people like us that are just starting, that don't have a full-time producer or the time necessarily to dedicate to it. So shortly we should have some really cool things to share with podcasters, especially any of you that are just running audio right now. There's a huge market that if you're running an audio podcast and you're successful with it, and or you are dedicated enough to keep doing it,
even without viewers,
you're
probably our target.
We're going to be able to help you really harness the power of social media, which, like Brooke has already said, we've been able to harness a little bit of that, growing YouTube to 30,000 plus subscribers. Instagram, we have 43,000 followers or so. TikTok, we're doing pretty well as well. That's all because of video content. Your audio podcast just can't get you there.
Yeah, no, it really can't. We've been running a survey with a lot of podcasters, hosts, producers, and the primary platforms that people are uploading on is Apple and Spotify, which makes sense because everybody's doing audio. Third to that is YouTube, which means there's a lot of video podcasters out there. I think for the most part, people want to do video. It's just a headache.
It's a huge headache. And so I understand. And some podcasts just do one camera because it's a lot easier to do one camera. But again, especially with the TikTok mind that has been developed over the last few years, especially since the pandemic, which the pandemic is almost a moment in history where it's like BC and AD, you know? Christ was born
totally.
and we restarted the way we track time. It's getting to a point, and I'm sure in history there's been other moments like that, right? When they tore down the wall, when 9/11 happened, that was a big moment. But I do think the pandemic really was a reset point for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And one of those things has definitely been TikTok Mind, where no one has focus to watch a video longer than 15 seconds, which I think is ridiculous personally.
Yeah.
I like longer form.
And I think that might be reversing now.
You think it's coming back?
I think long form's coming back. I mean, that's why so many podcast platforms are getting attention,
true.
right? That's why podcasts are so popular, I think.
I think a lot of that does have to do with the camera switching ability, though.
It does.
Because if it's just one camera for the whole time, the mind loses track, loses focus. And I think that's why multiple cameras.
You need movement. Yeah.
You need some movement.
Yeah.
And so we should be able to help with that as well.
Yeah. Sick. This first episode too will probably be posting bites on LinkedIn. So chances are, if you're into podcasting, at this point, we've probably reached out to you and connected with you.
Either we're connected or you've got a pending invite.
Yeah, exactly. We've got invited on to a couple other podcast platforms. So hopefully we can cash in on some of those appearances. And I don't know, we're really stoked for what we're building. Hopefully this thing, really takes podcasting to the next level and does something that most of the platforms out there aren't.
Yeah.
Like softwares like Riverside, they focus really on remote podcasting systems. That is a huge market, no doubt, right?
Super easy, awesome market.
Yeah.
They do great things.
That's not our target.
No, we don't want to mess with that. Personally, I think we both really like the in-person podcast.
Yeah, and I think that's the draw to podcasting now too, right? Is having this in-person moment, right? This like person-to-person conversation that you really don't get much anymore.
No. And I think a lot of that too, maybe it's just us. There's a lot of people that are like that, but I would rather go to someone if they're willing to interview than just jump on a Google Meet or a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So that's the direction we're going. Not that there's a wrong or a right answer, but it's the one we like and the one we're pushing to help.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. So neither of these things have anything to do with each other, right? Like the podcast is going to be about fighters and like really diving into the psyche of like the fighter mentality.
Does someone want to get punched in the face?
Yeah, right. Like trying to understand what brings you there. Why are you training? Even like as far as people in military that have been out on deployments, things of that nature, like what drew you to go and join, or what drew you to go and start training? What drew you to, I guess, any of these professions in fighting? I think that there's a really cool psychological basis that you can kind of start to explore. And I think that would be very entertaining.
Yeah.
That doesn't have a whole lot to do with the tech side, which we're both heavy into tech. James is more on the sales side. I've been more on the development design side. And so tech is where I've always found interest. And I'm sure with you too.
Yeah, and luckily we've got a couple really talented developers working on the project with us, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we should have something soon. But yeah, I guess we just saw the need when we were trying to do the podcast, and here we are. So.
Yeah, honestly. Well, I mean, that's why the short form content worked out so much better in the beginning. And that's why I think a lot of starting out podcasts, you should go short form. I mean, it's a really easy way to get traction and to get viewers without spinning your wheels, releasing 2-3 hour long podcasts, even 30-minute podcasts that, a lot of people, unless you have a user base that you've already kind of founded, like they're not going to spend the time watching that.
Yeah, I think there's very few people in the world that can pull off a 3-hour podcast and have people listen.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, there's a few others, right?
Uh-huh.
But I love the Huberman Lab podcast, but I can't listen to that for 3 hours straight.
That one is definitely like an enthusiast podcast, right? Like it's for people that really want to get into that stuff because it's intriguing. But if you think about it just from a listening standpoint,
no, it's hard.
It's really hard to listen for that long.
It's almost you gotta sit and take notes.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know, like Flagrant. Do you watch Flagrant podcast ever?
A little bit.
Full Send you've watched.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of Flagrant. They do well, but again, 3 hours is a long time.
It is. No matter what, it's a long time, right? I think our episodes will probably stick to around 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30, 45.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can really take some time to dive into some psyche
Yeah, some psyche stuff.
I mean, not that we want to be, we're not psychologists, but really just understand. One thing that really intrigues me is amateur fighters.
Uh-huh.
I mean, after you've had a handful of fights and you know how hard it is and how bad it sucks, what makes them want to keep going back?
I wonder if it's that they realize it doesn't suck that bad.
Maybe.
Right? I think they probably get into the cage.
I think we need to get in the cage.
Yeah. She would never let me. Ever. He's just staring at me. Yeah.
You can always ask for forgiveness.
Uh-huh.
You can tell her it's just a JITS tournament.
End up getting shot.
I think we do that. I think we sign up, say it's a JITS tournament.
Dude, have somebody do a live podcast while we're in the cage.
If anyone wants to be a part of this experiment, hit us up.
Yeah, I'd be terrified. Terrified. Yeah, I think most of the people that I've talked to that have gone in and done fights, they say, well, like, you get in, obviously your first fight, you're jumpy, like a lot of your technique kind of goes out the window, and they're just swinging, especially that first couple seconds, first couple minutes, like you're kind of freaking out. Mm-hmm. That adrenaline dump like takes hold. But I think after that, they all realize like, this isn't that bad. It's a hard sparring round. I could do this over and over again. And not only that, but like the whole idea of competition, like people love that. That's where people thrive.
I love it.
Yeah. Right.
There's nothing like, whether it's a race or whatever it is, just passing the person in front of you or overpowering the person.
But I think, I mean, from my standpoint, I think wrestling is one of the hardest fighting sports in the world over jiu-jitsu and like striking, because it's really physically exhausting and brutal.
It is.
Yeah. Like, and you really did that a ton in high school. I know a lot of people were high school wrestlers. You were at state, and like you continued to train hard as hell and got into all these different wrestling matches. Like, I'm sure they suck. I'm sure that there's this really heavy like anxiety that you have going into one. But once you're done with one, you're probably like, dude, that was the funnest thing ever.
Unless you get your ass kicked.
Yeah. Then you're crying.
Yeah. It depends. I think a lot of that too, like the most successful wrestlers obviously come from the best rooms. And the best rooms are the rooms that set it up where the room is harder than the match.
What do you mean room?
The wrestling room.
Wrestling room. Okay. Yeah. Practice.
Like if the wrestling room is hot, the AC's turned off, it's just
your coach is putting you through it.
Or you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning to go do CrossFit every morning before school and then go do practice after. I really think those are the successful rooms because they train harder than the match actually is. Totally.
Yeah. I think like half the times that I've gone into training, it's like you feel like you're going to war, you know, especially in jiu-jitsu. Like, you know, you do like 30 to 45 minutes of like class time where you're learning some submission, some escape, some mount, some, you know, some reversal, something. And then the last 45 minutes to an hour of class is just free roll.
Yeah. And then I get partnered up with McKay. He's like 50 pounds bigger than me.
But those free rolls are brutal, right? Like,
yeah.
And a lot of the guys in there are rolling, especially if you go against like a white belt. Like you get somebody that's new to the class that's like jacked, comes in, like feels like they've kind of know what they're doing, especially wrestlers. Like wrestlers come in there, they're the strongest in the gym, but they're like, they bring the same kind of momentum into like the room as they do in a match.
Yeah.
And so you go in, you're free rolling, and it's just like, you feel like you're going through war, dude.
Sometimes I think, I'll speak on behalf of wrestlers, maybe I try not to, but when you go into a JITS class, part of it feels natural and part of it's so foreign.
Right, yeah.
You try to really control what you can control, and I think sometimes that's why it is frustrating for others.
Yeah.
And I definitely try to keep that under locks, but you can tell when you're rolling with somebody that was just a wrestler and just has, it almost turns into like a spastic energy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They get it's like you can tell they're annoyed and angry that they can't get to the place they're used to getting to.
I wonder how much well, we won't get into that right now.
And I think
I feel like the high quality wrestlers, like you watch Bo Nickel, for example, get into onto the mat with Gordon Ryan.
Yeah.
That wasn't spastic, but it was high energy. He did pretty well.
Quick. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Like it is like.
But that's kind of what I see in the gym.
Yeah, 100%.
And
then Muay Thai is that way, but it tends to be like a slow roll, right? Where like you get into the gym and like initially your sparring sessions start out light, right? Like you're going like 20, 30, 40%. And like
it's almost like an argument.
It's like an argument.
Someone raises their voice a little bit.
Next person raises their voice. Yeah. Especially with people that haven't been doing it a long time. You get in there and you get annoyed that you keep getting hit and then you start swinging harder. Problem with more experienced people, and I've done this too many times with people that are better than me. Like I start swinging harder thinking that, you know, like that's going to make me feel better. Like I'm going to tag him here. Then they just put you down. You know what I mean?
And if they don't, you tag them with that.
It turns into 100%
you're blacklisted.
Match. Yeah. Well, yeah. It turns into 100% fight, right? Where like you're swinging on each other.
You're not ready for that.
No. I mean, at least you're wearing shin pads and boxing gloves.
Yeah.
But you imagine those came off, like you're going as hard as you are in the cage,
or you just catch
especially
one
when
right
you're warm.
to the nose.
Yeah, that too.
I think you did that to somebody not too long ago.
No. That was on accident, and it wasn't even a cool thing.
Hopefully he watches this one.
Crew, my baby, what's up?
Maybe we'll get him on.
Hey, he looks just as pretty as he did, though. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Broken noses.
Oh, 100% we're getting Crew on. Yeah. Crew has to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really. Yeah, tune in for later episodes. Hopefully some of these are cool. We're going to try not to do podcasts where it's just James and I talking. I know that sometimes that's entertaining. A lot of the time it's not. Trust me, we've read the comments. We shouldn't.
I don't need therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe.
On one of the shorts.
But I'm not podcasting because I need therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the reason why.
No, we podcast because we can bullshit and be friends. Come on, dude. It's a conversation.
It's like Gen Z discovering that they can just hang out and talk.
Exactly. I'm just getting back into that. No, I remember one of the shorts was I was telling like a childhood story, and one of the comments was like, "You're not interesting at all." I'm like, oh. But there was like 40,000 views on that video. So
they just didn't know the story. They don't know how interesting your childhood really was.
Who knows? Yeah, kind of.
Also, the comments on your beard.
Wait, was there one? I don't know if I read that one.
Your beard looks better now, thank goodness. But
just nappy.
It was pretty nappy.
It was nappy.
Those first few episodes.
Yeah, it was.
There's some mean.
Sometimes comments. I just let it go. I just barely cleaned it up, and it still looks nappy.
Roast me.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Brady's getting roasted tomorrow. If he can get roasted, roast me. That's cool. I'm down.
Not only that, but comments only help us. So
that's true.
Leave as many as you possibly can.
And let us know who you'd like to see on. If you're in Utah, got to connect.
Yeah. Or if you're into this realm
at all,
get on the podcast. We'd love to have you. Obviously, we don't have any guests right now. We haven't really talked to anybody about it, but we figured like, let's just sit down. Let's film our personal shots on our phones, and let's film a wide shot on the computer and just pair it together.
This is called just starting.
Yeah, we're just starting.
Gary Vee would be really
just bad. Start, dude.
I don't know if I've even. Does he say that? Just start. Somebody says
I'm sure
that.
he does.
Lots
Somebody
does.
That. Everybody does. That's
the internet will either say just start or prep, but who cares?
Yeah.
I actually saw like a short little reel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Grant Cardone says X and other person says Y, and it's like buy Airbnb, don't buy Airbnb, do this, don't do that. You just gotta cut the noise out.
Yeah, cut the noise out. Well, cool. Yeah, so that's where the podcast is headed. If you're interested, DM us on any of Hektic's social channels or our personal.
Yeah.
James B. Singer, Brooke Roney, and have a good night.
Yeah. Into the fight scene, military, anything else, hit us up.
Yep. Ciao.